A young man in a fancy uniform sits calmly, thinking about the butterfly effect, which says one small choice can change the whole world's fate. This thought of changing fate makes him feel bad because, in his opinion, he has already made many choices he regrets. Suddenly, someone calls out to him inside the room. A woman's voice asks if he is listening and says she knows he is in there, demanding he open the door. The young man seems shocked by the sudden attention. The voice continues, explaining that the lodge's owner, Ophelia, confirmed he had no classes today, so there is no excuse for ignoring her. The caller is getting impatient with his silence. The woman threatens to cut her way in if he keeps ignoring her, showing extreme determination. The young man inside feels terrified of this crazy woman who doesn't care about the rules. He yells in shock as the door is forcefully attacked, and a knife slices through it. He thinks about how crazy this woman is, which might break the rules. The young man inside protests, shouting that the student council president is the one who gives punishments for breaking rules, so she shouldn't be doing this. But the person outside declares that is unfortunate for him. With a powerful flash of light and sound, the door is utterly destroyed as the intruder proudly states she is the president of the student council. The young man, Dawood Campbell, is thrown back and collapses onto the floor amidst the debris, feeling defeated. The woman standing over him asks if he has been avoiding her lately, and she specifies it has been 32 times. Then, she changes the topic to ask him a serious question. She directly asks Dawood Campbell, in a very imposing manner, if he will marry her, and stands before him with authority. The focus is on the imposing figure of the woman, whose presence dwarfs Dawood, who is now just a silhouette on the ground, his hand raised in shock. Dawood recognizes her and stammers, asking what Princess Tristan is talking about, accusing her of coveting a man who is already taken. He looks stressed and confused. Princess Tristan, sitting casually on the window frame, smirks and asks if it is how her family handles things, questioning her motives. Another person with white hair and red eyes questions if the bright setting is too good for an assassin, worrying about witnesses. The purple-haired Princess Tristan casually licks her lips and says killing all witnesses is her creed. The white-haired person confirms that eliminating witnesses is their creed, causing Dawood to panic, shouting that he is uncomfortable and hasn't even thought about marriage yet. Suddenly, another powerful burst of golden light shines down from above, interrupting the tense moment. As the light fades, we see three faces: the white-haired person, Dawood looking terrified in the middle, and a purple-haired princess on the right. A new voice yells, "Hey, Dawood!" The purple-haired woman appears, beaming, and demands that Dawood live with her. Dawood's determined face shows his anger as he hears about the wedding preparations, and he is suddenly bound by dark chains, saying how rude. The white-haired person steps forward, addressing Dawood and asking why he is spending his time being surrounded by snobs as her fiancé, then calls out Uriah. In shock, a new figure emerges, surrounded by intense flames and horns, telling the others to shut their mouths because they are jealous women. She declares, "Dawood Campbell is mine." The fiery woman, Fainal, is revealed, and the white-haired person reacts in shock, saying, Fainal. The white-haired person then realizes this has become a competition, while Fainal tells her she must be delusional. The scene shifts to show intense close-ups of the character's eyes, Dawood looking terrified in the center, the purple-haired princess questioning why he isn't cunning, and the white-haired person stating that if objections exist to something set in stone, there's only one conclusion. A chaotic fight breaks out as the characters leap at each other, with the white-haired person seemingly engaging the purple-haired one, while Dawood watches in horror. One of the women, likely the one in red flames, is struck down with his sword, and a final thought bellows out, questioning why everyone is fighting amongst themselves. Someone is thinking about how things got complicated, asking for a quick look back at what happened. As the story flashes back, some intense characters seem to be arguing or reacting strongly, with one person looking scared in the middle. Then, the focus shifts to different striking faces, one with fiery energy and horns, and another with a shocked expression, suggesting dark elements at play. The view continues to show intense, possibly villainous or powerful female characters, one with a sly look and fangs. The sequence ends with another intense image of a woman and a shocking question appearing at the bottom, "Will you marry me?" Now the story settles and the main character remembers something important, saying, "Ah, that's right." He recalls the situation he is in, which came from a survival game called Savior Rising, or SR for short. This game was a typical young academy story, and the character proudly mentions clearing it and seeing the end. But after finishing the game, something unexpected happened the next day, as he woke up somewhere new, feeling confused about how this happened. He quickly denies swearing at the game or angering a developer, insisting he wasn't even too attached to the main protagonist. Now, he explains that he possessed Dodd Campbell, who is a powerless extra and heir to a minor Viscount family. The Campbell Viscount County is mostly known for farming and doesn't have any dungeons like other parts of the Empire, which is why it barely mattered in the game's main story. It was a big deal for a Viscount's son to even try entering the Imperial Academy. His father tells him he is the pride of their county as he leaves, shaking hands with him. The father warns Dodd not to cause any trouble while he is away. Dodd is told that Alphonte Academy is where all the rich noble children go, and the best thing he can do is stay quiet and not attract attention. His father emphasizes not causing trouble, with people cheering his departure in the background. Dodd cheerfully agrees with his father, promising to keep his reputation low and even his grades below average, though this is clearly not what his father intended to hear. The system status shows Dodd Campbell has all F stats, which is incredibly low, even for a veteran player like him. The game's main quest is simple: enter the academy and get assigned a class, but ignoring it means game over. The narrator knows that the Alphonte Academy will soon be in chaos because of the villains, so he must focus on not dying. He looks down over a fiery, chaotic scene, reinforcing the danger ahead. He assures his worried father that he will do his best to draw no attention to himself, planning to be a quiet loner. However, he immediately realizes that the main protagonist will handle everything herself, and maybe his plan to be a loner is exactly what a background character should do. He then thinks about keeping his grades low, which his father didn't want, showing the main character is already messing up his survival plan. A title card appears for the manhwa, showing a powerful-looking woman, setting the stage for the academy life that has just started. He thinks the protagonist will handle things, and being a self-made loner is the way to go, then sees the academy grounds as the train arrives, feeling his academy life has begun. Right after that hope, he feels a sudden dread. The beautiful scenery quickly gives way to a dark, ominous feeling as he realizes something is wrong from the very beginning of this new life. He is shocked to find himself sharing a carriage with her, who he recognizes instantly. The woman he shares the carriage with is Elnor the Bloodthirsty, known for having a mountain of corpses associated with her name. Dodd is clearly terrified to be near her. This powerful figure is Elnor Alinori's Latristan, who is the final boss of this world, and in the game's story, she constantly fights the protagonist until her sanity breaks. The dark side of Elnor is mentioned: the dormant grey demon devours her body, turning her into the final boss that only a fully developed protagonist can defeat. Elnor asks Dodd if he needs a doctor because he looks unwell, and Dodd, shocked, says he's fine. He knows the Tristan Dukem cares a lot about appearances, which explains why she is sitting humbly instead of in first class, a calculated move to seem approachable. Dodd apologizes for worrying her, noting that everyone else in the carriage looks the same way about her. Elnor seems different from the strict, perfectionist person he remembers from the game. Elnor notices Dodd isn't replying and asks if he's curious about something else, as he seems taken aback by her seemingly sensitive side. Dodd, flustered, quickly claims it's nothing and compliments her unexpected kindness, which makes her suspicious, asking if he heard bad things about her. Dodd quickly thinks, "I'm actually insane," and tries to play it cool. Elnor asks if they have met before, and Dodd screams internally, "I'm actually insane." He manages to say he heard she was strict. Elnor calls him a strange person, and Dodd, trying to play the part of the extra, agrees, saying he hears that a lot, while internally screaming, "Don't get involved." He decides to look outside to stop talking, admiring the scenery, only for his peaceful moment to be shattered when he sees a massive boulder rolling toward their carriage. Dodd yells in shock, recognizing the danger, and shouts for the student council president, Elnor, who reacts immediately, putting up her hand. A massive explosion of light and force occurs as the boulder hits. A glowing necklace, which seems to be Elnor's, activates with the text armor recognition and creation for adult skeletons, creating a bright blue magical defense around her. The impact is huge, and Dodd is shocked, realizing his F stats won't save him from this, while Elnor looks determined. Dodd checks if Elnor is okay, and she confirms she is, asking if he can move because he is heavy on her, showing he must have been somehow shielded by her. Dodd cries out in pain and starts to apologize, but Elnor stops him, saying it's fine because he tried to save her. Elnor admits it's her first time being approached so boldly by a man, and Dodd internally admits he lunged at her just to get protection from her armor. Elnor then asks for his name, and Dodd hesitates, worried that if he replies, he'll get further involved with her. He decides to be cautious, saying he'll only tell her if she promises not to do anything with the information, but then he just blurts out his full name, Dodd Campbell. Eleanor accepts the name, says she won't forget it, and promises to repay him later, immediately gaining a villain's interest in him, which also triggers a special gift condition. The conditions for the special gift are met, and a bright light shines as he seems to float slightly above the fiery ground. He receives 2 skills, Desperate Survival and Deadly Charm, which confuses him as he wonders why he got these. The train crash site shows that thanks to special security, there weren't too many casualties, and a man in a mask checks on an injured person. The injured person cries out in pain, and the medic says he hasn't touched them yet, as the injured people are told to depart now that they've been checked. The remaining carriages proceed toward the grand entrance of the Alphonte Academy under a bright, clear sky. Dodd checks the details of the special gift, which is Fated Attraction, giving rewards for gaining interest from those with evil traits, explaining why he got the skills and why he couldn't find the condition before. He realizes his home county was too normal for this system to unlock anything. He remembers his happy-go-lucky county where it was hard to find anyone neutral, which is why the gift never activated before. He decides to check the skills he gained. The Desperate Survival skill increases his stats in times of need, scaling with danger, which sounds very useful. But the Deadly Charm skill is more concerning, as it says it's easier to gain interest from those with evil traits. He thinks Desperate Survival will help him fight, but he is worried about Deadly Charm. He realizes the characters with evil traits in the game are all dangerous people. He thinks about the crazy warrior, the deranged sword god, and the violent assassin. All of them are described as annoying humans. He also remembers the genius mage who is numb to everything. He shuts down that thought, deciding that having survival skills is what matters right now. He notes that the skill ranks are all labeled S, something he's never seen as an SR veteran, and he wonders what it means. He tries to calm himself down, focusing on the skills he needs for survival. He is interrupted by someone checking on him, asking if he needs another psych assessment, and he firmly replies that he is actually okay this time. He sees a horse casually eating grass, contrasting with the recent chaos. He is asked again if he is okay, and he confirms he is as they arrive at the academy. Dodd is seen walking away from the carriage toward the Grand Academy building after the incident. An official welcomes everyone safely despite the incident, praising how incredible the freshman class is. Someone approaches Dodd and questions him about riding with the Tristan princess, pointing out that as a Viscount's son with no connections, it's unusual. Dodd replies curtly, yes, and? The questioner points out his lack of connections, and Dodd points out he is also an Alphonte alumnus from a no-name family. The official then suggests the boulder attack on his carriage might not have been a coincidence, given the Tristan Dukedom has many enemies. Eleanor is seen protectively holding Dodd as the official advises him to avoid her because being close to high-ranking nobles will only get him hurt. Dodd says he will keep that in mind, but internally he knows he is already involved with Eleanor, whether he likes it or not. He reflects that in this slander-filled academy, she is certainly a candidate to be the final boss, and even standing near her feels dangerous. He mentally notes that being near her brings death-like breathing, and suddenly he hears someone shout his name, Dodd Campbell. "You bastard!" A group of smug-looking students mocks him for spacing out, noting that everyone else has already found sparring partners for the practical evaluation that starts right after the ceremony. Dodd steps forward for the evaluation, and an announcement is made that his opponent has been automatically decided since he is the only one left without a partner. Dodd is clearly worried about who he is matched against. He realizes that if everyone else picked their partners, the person left over must be the strongest one in the room. He looks up nervously as a bright, smiling girl with orange hair stands before him. Dodd is stunned, shouting in shock. The girl introduces herself as Alia Crixanax, who seems very friendly and asks if he needs a hand. Dodd is terrified, realizing he is facing Alia Crixanax, who, in the future, will become the savior, the main protagonist of Savior Rising. Alia Crixanax, who is known as the greatest genius in the world, offered to help someone up, and that person awkwardly replied that they were okay but then accepted her help. This person, Alia, is then shown looking powerful as the main character of the story Savior Rising. After being helped up, the young man seemed to realize something terrible and thought, "Am I fucked?" The scene shows Alia dramatically landing, covered in what looks like glitter or magic, in a bright, dynamic shot. Suddenly, there was an announcement that Count Crichton and Marquis Galantier had arrived, drawing attention, but someone wondered why Lady Tristan was late. A woman with glasses looked concerned, asking if she was out of her mind because the entrance duels were already happening. Then, someone asked when Lady Tristan was coming, just as a loud sound echoed. Lady Tristan, covered in blood, made a dramatic entrance, stepping forward while others looked on in shock. The woman with glasses, now seated, interrogated Lady Tristan, asking where the hell she had been. Lady Tristan calmly replied that she was taking care of some things, making the woman with glasses hesitate, as she and another person had to deal with something first. Ignoring the interruption, the conversation turned serious as someone asked if anyone died, and the reply was a surprisingly small number, not many, just around 12. They were trying to kill Lady Tristan by dropping a boulder on her train and making it look like an accident. Lady Tristan then revealed that she found out who they were and killed them because she happened to be nearby, which made the woman with glasses suggest she should have left such matters to this school. Lady Tristan retorted, asking if they expected her to be just and perfect, someone who would forgive those who tried to kill her. The woman with glasses then agreed but told her to change first because the entrance duels were starting, mentioning that if she went now, she would see Aaliyah Crixanax and Dodd Campbell. The mention of Dodd Campbell surprised the woman with glasses, who asked how Lady Tristan knew him, as she found him completely unremarkable. Lady Tristan confirmed it was him and stated he seemed completely unremarkable. Another character, smiling sinisterly, called Dodd odd, while Lady Tristan simply remarked that Dodd was quite odd. Someone insulted Dodd, calling him a country bumpkin and wondering how many moves he would last against Aaliyah. The audience below doubted he would last even a few moves without getting hurt. Dodd realized his stats were garbage and that getting hit by her attacks would be like death, but then thought this dangerous situation might actually be in his favor. He resolved that he had nothing to lose, and his skill, Desperate Survival, activated, which increases stats based on danger level. He thought the villains he needed to impress must be among these faces, and if he survived, he would at least draw their interest. With his information advantage and stat boost, Dodd thought he might survive, then called out to Aaliyah. Aaliyah looked down at him, demanding honesty, asking if he was really weak. Dodd was shocked she would call him weak, and Aaliyah asked if he was the person with the Tristan girl. She explained she hated her and the entire house Tristan, calling them demons. The other observing character admitted she was brave for saying that but noted that according to the story, she had a lot against the Tristans. Aaliyah understood it was family drama, but Dodd insisted he was only in the same room as her. Aaliyah then pointed out that Dodd still reminded her of the girl, which pissed her off, so she was going to make him hurt, but then asked if they should just pretend to fight. Dodd said pretending sounded good, but he needed to grow quickly in the next 2 days or his life would be in danger, so the only way to survive was to be noticed here. He told her she could go all out. Aaliyah looked surprised, then Dodd confessed he actually liked her, to which she asked if he was serious. Dodd admitted he was lying, saying it was the only way to make her fight him seriously, and she responded that she was as serious as his hate for her. Then, a system notification popped up. Deadly Charm activates, increasing villain's attraction and adding a reward to his gift tab. Aaliyah commented that he wasn't a complete weakling man and said she would go a little harder, activating Desperate Survival. The scene shifts to observers noting Dodd Campbell's shocking display on his first day at Alphonte Academy, suggesting the first possibility, this Dodd kid is a proficient fraud. One observer, Conrad, had his opinion changed quickly, but he said it didn't make sense because Dodd had no combat skills before the duel, implying he used an illegal substance or tool to boost his power temporarily. The other possibility mentioned was that Dodd was an absolutely monstrous genius, but it was hard to accept his victory as is, especially since Margrave Kindred, Aaliyah's sponsor, wouldn't stand by. However, ignoring a student with great potential would be a great loss for the academy, so they decided to wait and see if he was a fraud. The observers mentioned there were many interesting new admissions this year, some unique enough to need special treatment, and if Dodd was special, he would have a role to play. Back to Dodd, he saw the breaking news. The entire world had its eye on him, Dodd Campbell, suggesting he might be the child of an Imperial Knight Commander or the greatest talent ever seen at the Academy. Dodd, reading the news, was shocked, realizing the news spread fast both where he was and in this game world. He then checked his gift profile updates. He received points from Baron Armat Curiosity Level 2, Viscount Lupin Curiosity Level 1, and Viscount Guron Interest Level 3. He noted the progression from curiosity to interest, then trust, and that the points could be used in a points store. Dodd noticed Elnor had the highest curiosity, but he wondered why the final boss, who should have no interest in him, had so much. He received a reward from Elnor, the trait Tristan's sword technique, which came from the great house Tristan, famous for swordsmen. though he recalled their house was involved with demons, dismissing it for now. He then saw Aniclimax's character information, noting her curiosity level was 4, but he was unable to receive rewards yet. He wondered why she was there with them since gifts were only for villains with positive interest. He realized this was Dodd Campbell's room, and a familiar voice Aniclimax asked if she could come in. Dodd panicked, hoping she would go away if he stayed quiet. Alia insisted she knew he was there and asked him to open the door, saying she had something to tell him. Dodd nervously asked what it was, and Alia replied it was just things so they could get to know each other a little better. Alia leaned against the door, looking at him with a slightly bruised face, and Dodd reacted with confusion and disbelief. This is the start of a big moment in the story, showing a character in a dramatic pose. The main character walks through a hallway, thinking about what just happened. She lets out a small sigh. She seems annoyed, thinking that someone else was too stiff about something. She is holding a document and has a sword. Then, some smaller characters try to be friendly, shouting for friendship, but the protagonist seems bothered by them. One character thinks there is something strange about a certain guy. The protagonist confesses she does not really know how to be friends with a man, and then she bumps into something, perhaps a dropped item. Someone tells her she should have looked where she was going. She starts to apologize, but a tall woman with white hair stops her and asks if she is hurt. The protagonist is clearly intimidated. White-haired woman seems concerned, and then another character shouts, "Be brother," right before a fiery scene erupts and someone yells for Alia to run. The fire shows a powerful figure, and then the protagonist, Alia, is shown looking terrified, clutching her weapon. She manages to say she is alright and focuses on the situation, grabbing her sword out of pure instinct. The white-haired woman, Eleanor Tristan, is shown looking down with sharp eyes, and the protagonist wonders if she can even fight someone that's strong, noticing Eleanor taking back something she dropped. The protagonist thinks if Eleanor is intentionally ignoring her attempt to draw her sword, showing a great sense of power imbalance. Eleanor then demands the item back. Eleanor stands tall and imposing as the protagonist looks up at her, still recovering from the shock. The protagonist wonders if Eleanor is implying she doesn't even need to bother reacting to her, and Eleanor hands back a cloth item. As Eleanor returns the item, the protagonist questions how she knows Dodd Campbell's room location, thinking about Dodd's connection to this powerful woman. Eleanor simply states she was with him until now and then gives directions. The protagonist is surprised and asks why she was with Dodd. Eleanor replies it was for friendship among new students. The protagonist is shocked by Eleanor's hostility. Then Eleanor coldly states that new students are forbidden to mix with the opposite sex. When the protagonist questions if that's a real rule, Eleanor declares she just made that rule, forbidding the protagonist from going to Dodd's room. The protagonist then questions Eleanor's relationship with Dodd. Eleanor dismisses any relationship with Dodd but firmly tells the protagonist to remember her warning. The focus shifts to another male character who seems aware of the tension between the two women. This male character notes there seems to be something between the two women, and the protagonist resolves that even for mere information, she should keep getting close to Dodd. The focus shifts to the class assignment exam at Alphonte Academy, which is designed to check everything about a student, taking place outside the Grand Academy building. The protagonist reflects that after winning a duel against a warrior candidate, he got placed in the highest level group for the exam. Unlike others who look proud, he looks worried. He notices the girl he pushed away yesterday, Aniclimax, is in the same group, and his system shows her interest in him has risen, which he finds very strange. He remembers receiving snacks and a letter overnight, making him wonder if someone is stalking him, stressing about all the weird things happening. The announcement comes for Group 1 to start their turn, and the protagonist decides to focus on the exam, expecting it to follow the main scenario. His system alerts him to an upcoming character event with Eleanor Alinarize Tristan. Eleanor appears, introducing herself as the one in charge of the exam, which shocks the protagonist because this matches the expected event date. Ilia is also surprised. They all realize it will be strange if nothing happens now, and the other supervisors decide to let the student president lead the exams just in case, agreeing to move to the exam area. Eleanor leads the group to the exam area, looking very authoritative, promising to answer questions once they arrive. One of the other students, Luca, comments on how much effort was put into the area, but someone tells him to be quiet and follow. As they enter a dark area, there are sound effects of things closing. The group enters a large, cool-looking area, but someone immediately notices the lights went out, confirming something is wrong. The protagonist asks Eleanor if the power outage and sealed entrance are part of the test. Elnor doesn't answer, but the system immediately indicates the Elnor event is in effect. The protagonist realizes this is a trap, not a test, as his system alerts him to an assassination attempt targeting Elnor, requiring him to protect her. He tells the others not to worry because the official people will handle it. He suggests they move, and one of the characters notes that the people present are all members of the main character's party, where they all first meet in the original story. The protagonist thinks everyone in this room is important to the story, suggesting the central hall is the best place to move to because it's large and defensible. He points out a map, confusing the others, but explains the central hall is better for defense against ambushes than the tight hallways, which convinces the other group members. The group discusses feeling something, confirming they are not alone, and the protagonist declares he will go to the central hall. The others question why he is choosing a spot away from the main group. The protagonist insists it's important and he will explain later, to which Aaliyah argues back, saying nothing is more important than saving his own life. The protagonist manages to convince them with his insistence, thinking his previous action against Aaliyah helped him gain credibility, and he plans to just hide until the event is over since Elnor is the target. He walks off into a dark corner to wait out the event, feeling relieved that his plan worked, hoping the assassins ignore him since Elnor is the real target. As he walks away, another character calls out to him, asking for guidance because he is there to fix the power issue. The protagonist turns, looking slightly confused as the man explains he needs guidance because his eyesight is poor in the dark. The man is shown up close with a sinister look as he says his eyesight is not great in the dark, while the protagonist looks on nervously. A major system warning flashes about a dangerous situation detected as a terrifying, smiling figure appears behind the protagonist, creating a very ominous ending to the sequence. Someone steps down, creating a splash, and a character asks Ellie if she thinks Dodd will be okay alone if something happens. Another person replies that Dodd must have a plan no matter what he is doing, and then notices that something is about to happen to them, pointing out that the advance party has already been wiped out. This crop shows a bright, colorful flashback or memory of a happy young girl holding someone's hand in a field, which contrasts sharply with the current dark situation. The scene returns to darkness as two figures walk cautiously through a stone hallway with sounds indicating stealth or careful movement. The leading figures confirm that the first group sent in was defeated by a devilish woman, but one smug-looking man claims that would only be true if he wasn't there, noting that even the easy guys got tricked quickly. A character states that the equipment room is right in front of them, suggesting their next target or destination. The smug character, claiming to be a professional assassin, says he can judge a person's level just by watching how they move, concluding that the target is a complete rookie. He then plans to play with him before killing him and using his body to eliminate Lady Tristan. A young man looks on calmly just as a menacing, dark figure appears behind someone, saying it is time to reward the subordinate for doing well. The subordinate expresses relief, and the young man confirms his identity, mentioning he recognized him from his walking style and rhinitis, saying he is the same old guy. The older man is shocked by the recognition and proclaims that if the opponent were stronger, he could have been in danger, saying he is relieved. Then, another attack happens, showing a brief skirmish. The older man, recovering from the attack, is confused by the strange comments about his walking and rhinitis, while another character seems to be holding his staff firmly. The older man assesses the situation, rating desperate survival as A rank, but calls his opponent a mere weakling. He prepares to end the fight instantly. The young man manages to use a move, causing one of the hooded figures to crash into a stone wall. More fighting erupts, showing one enemy being struck by flaming arrows, and below, a massive battle is underway with figures using fire and swift movements. The fight continues with bright, energetic attacks, showing a young woman with orange hair leading the charge against multiple dark figures. A large, imposing figure in a suit is shown brutally crushing one of the enemies under a glowing red axe, highlighting the intense violence. Someone exclaims that the current enemies are weaker than expected and orders someone named Palkas to freeze them, while also wondering about Elnor. A forceful stomp is followed by a powerful woman in a military-style uniform unleashing a massive burst of purple energy. The powerful woman's energy blast sends several hooded figures flying backward into the walls. One of the downed enemies lets out a pained cry after being hit. The injured man coughs blood and expresses distress, while another attacker strikes close to him. The military-clad woman leans over a man and demands to know if there are any more deployed besides them, threatening to break his neck if he doesn't answer. The captive mentions the name Hastags of the crescent moon, and the woman asks if he is in the building or nearby, while another person holds a glowing blue, icy object. The two main women and the captive stand before a group of onlookers. The captive states that he cannot tell them the information, causing the military woman to violently strike him down. The military woman, radiating intense red energy, presses the point, asking if the assassin is currently present. After the captive is slammed into the ground, the military woman looks down with a severe expression and receives confirmation that the assassin came with them. Another character asks what is driving the captive to go so far, and he replies that they tried to kill him. He then mentions that Hastags of the crescent moon is an assassin who can mimic others' appearances. The military woman asks who the easiest target for that assassin would be in the building right now, leading another character to realize there is only one person. The orange-haired woman seems to realize something, suggesting that Dodd used himself as bait to draw out the strongest enemy, and another couple looks on with concern. The question of the assassin's relationship with the woman is raised, to which she firmly replies they are nothing, at least as far as she knows. The orange-haired woman has a speechless reaction as the captured man declares he is a professional assassin and that the guardian's soul should be a barrier against non-slashing attacks, questioning why a weapon is present if that's true. The assassin muses that the school is ancient and mysterious, making the presence of a weapon understandable, concluding that no matter what, an assassin is a weapon themselves. The captured man looks up in pain and confusion, thinking, but why? The young man successfully strikes the older assassin, creating a sharp impact sound. The young man lands a decisive blow against the crazed-looking enemy, and a system notification pops up, stating he has successfully performed the sword technique. The notification continues, saying his proficiency in the Tristan sword technique has increased, and the young man breathes a sigh of relief, while the older assassin reacts in shock to the technique being used. The older assassin realizes he shouldn't have messed with the young man, admitting he was being baited and demanding to know who he is, while the young man looks slightly uneasy as a deadly charm is activated. The older assassin explains that the game system prevents weapon use at the save point, which is why he lured him there, before sarcastically telling the young man to kill him since he won't talk. The young man states he doesn't intend to kill him and asks why, then instructs the captives to spread the word to others not to get close to Lady Tristan, and also to say that an assassin of his caliber almost died. He acknowledges that whoever made the request will likely try again. The young man explains that if attempts continue, the possibility of Elnor's gray demon being released increases, so they must shut that possibility down now, to which the defeated assassin dares him to try again if he comes back. The older man asks if Lady Tristan is really that important to the young man, and the young man replies, let's just say she is, adding that he will also be protecting her next time. The older man seems flustered by the admission, and the system announces the activation of Deadly Charm, causing the villain's favorability to rise exponentially. Multiple system notifications confirm that the favorability of the villain is rising exponentially as the stern-looking military woman appears, with the same notification repeating. The young man reacts with shock and confusion as more favorability notifications pop up, while the defeated assassin watches on. Chapter ends with a powerful military woman descending dramatically toward the young man, casting a long shadow over him. The view shows a grand academy building under a bright sky, and someone exclaims about the mess. It seems like things are chaotic around the academy. A person is stressed about a mountain of work, even though they understand why the chancellor is angry about tracking down the incident organizer right away. They confirm that the academy is a big mess internally. It's almost sure that a spy is present because of the way and time the assassination attempt happened. Elnor is told that political troubles aimed at her are common, but since this is the second attempt, the people behind it must be very serious. The conversation continues, noting that this incident feels a little different, and whoever is responsible will surely try again. They mention that all the people with Elnor were accounted for and subdued without any injuries. The problem points to Dodd Campbell, as he is the only one without any record of commendation, which is strange. It feels like he is purposely trying to avoid the academic team's notice. The other person warns Elnor that if she says I wonder again, they will react strongly, which makes Elnor ask what the problem is, pointing out Dodd was just mentioned. Elnor is then teased about liking the country bumpkin, Dodd. Elnor denies fancying Dodd, but her companion jokes about it, bringing up what Archduke Tristan would say if he heard this, suggesting the old man would be upset. Elnor firmly states she does not fancy him, which is immediately doubted. Despite the denial, the conversation shifts to how kindly Dodd treated Elnor, noting that normally she would be suspicious of someone. Elnor is advised to be more careful as a lady of House Tristan. Elnor agrees but says she just has to test him, believing it will be fine if she just observes him closely. She is then asked what that means, and she explains that the academic team is busy with a project for optimal results, but she doesn't want to expect anything. Eleanor wishes to be shoved into any old class and forgotten, questioning why she isn't being placed in the special class like a Liz party. Meanwhile, a system notification pops up stating the first main quest is complete. New information updates the main quest: resolve the incident at the freshman reception ceremony in D3 days for a reward of exclusive equipment material. The reception ceremony is where the protagonist's class will be decided based on their focus, like archer or mage. The character notes that just as Aaliyah focuses on the sword, they will focus on a strength build to get matching exclusive equipment material. However, they state that the only problem is something else. Character information updates show Elnor's Latristan has an increased trust level, close to an affection change, with the event due in D3 days. Aaliyah Crixanax is also close to an affection change, also with an event in D3 days. The character thinks about the final boss, the protagonist, and the main quest events all happening at the same time, signaling that something big is definitely going to happen. A reward notification appears. Elnor's gift reward, acquired 1 skill duplication pass. Character is shocked about getting a skill duplication pass, realizing they could copy the final boss's skills, which sounds insane. However, they decide it would be a complete loss to use it now. It is noted that like the protagonist Aaliyah, Elnor is a final boss who can grow and will gain many cheat skills later, so there is no need to waste the skill duplication pass now. The character decides to prepare for the event happening in 3 days, luckily knowing something that will help with survival. Under the light of a full moon, the character arrives at an old equipment warehouse at night. They note it's nice to use the points store to get items like haste potion, shadow mask, and catwalk shoes. After bypassing security, the character reached what they call the SR Tryhard's treasure farming spot. They find a vitality recovery biscuit that genuinely helps stamina recovery. The character searches around, mentioning they found everything else, but the most important item is still missing. They then find it, the Ultima of Divinity, an incense burner with ancient power stored inside. Feeling successful, the character says they found everything they needed, but then realizes things were going too well. A huge, rocky figure starts to rumble awake nearby. The figure is identified as Yuria Greyhouncer, the boss of Chapter 2, nicknamed the Cursed Sword Goddess. The character realizes the item they just picked up originally belonged to her, meaning she must be nearby. Suddenly, danger is detected as life-threatening, and a desperate survival activated as X-rank notice appears. The character apologizes for waking her up, but then a giant piece of rock comes crashing down. The character is sent flying upwards amidst debris, and a powerful figure catches them gently in the clouds. The character seems confused and asks, "Huh?" The person holding the character is identified as Yuria. The masked character holding her is surprised, asking, "Huh?" It is confirmed that the woman being carried is Yuria Greyhouncer, the Chapter 2 boss known as the Cursed Sword Goddess. The character realizes the item he took was originally hers, which explains why she is here now. Danger is confirmed as life-threatening, triggering desperate survival activated as X-ranked. The character desperately grabs something like a chain as the powerful Yuria wakes up with fury. The character weakly apologizes for waking her up, but as debris flies everywhere due to her awakening, the character is overwhelmed by the power. They think to themselves that they knew things were going too well. The character is thrown back as Yuria unleashes a massive, bright attack that looks like a sword swing, leaving the character in shock. Long ago, the fight with Aaliyah was just a simple duel, but things got intense quickly. The masked man was hit hard, showing the strength of his opponent even though he tried his best to fight back. As the fight continued, a sharp object, maybe a sword, came dangerously close to the masked man, making him struggle. The girl, Yuria, stood ready, holding her sword, emphasizing that this confrontation was a matter of life or death for both of them. The masked man quickly tried to explain that it was all a misunderstanding and he didn't plan anything while she was sleeping, even though he felt aches all over despite his strength. He begged her, but Yuria seemed determined, showing incredible speed and power with her chained weapon, knocking the man back forcefully. Yuria unleashed another powerful move with her chains, showing her frightening combat skills. Seeing the intense situation, the masked man knew he had to figure out how to stop taking hits from her attack. Yuria attacked again with her glowing sword, a powerful strike coming right for him. The masked man barely managed to block the sword's force, gritting his teeth from the impact. He was pushed back again by the sheer force of her powerful swing. It was then explained that Yuria had a curse involving a distance of 3.5 steps, where anyone close to her gets defeated. The masked man challenged her, asking if she could take a step forward. Yuria seemed to accept the idea of cutting him up if he moved closer, but she also admitted she couldn't escape either. The masked man suddenly realized this isolated area was Yuria's personal space, meaning even teachers rarely came here. He tried a different tactic, offering her an energy recovery biscuit, figuring that anyone in the situation must be hungry. Yuria was suspicious, thinking he was trying to bribe her with food, but the image below shows a tiny version of Yuria eagerly rushing for the biscuit. He hoped she would accept it as a mistake, knowing that you cannot talk sense into someone who is really hungry. The masked man breathed a sigh of relief, feeling like he almost died, and wondered why she was there when he couldn't steal from her now. He lied, saying someone asked him to feed her and look after her, which made Yuria start eating while pondering who sent him. The masked man thought that there was no way she would meet Yuria in the game this early, and then reassured her that her sister was safe in the Holy Empire. Told her the Emperor wouldn't care about them for a while, but she still needed to keep a low profile for now before saying he would be back. Information then flashed about Yuria being from the Holy Empire and hiding in Elefante because of the Holy Emperor, and that her sword was an evil item, making her suffer the curse of 3 steps as its binding vessel. Because of all this, he felt it was okay to tell her about the only family she had left, as she must be going through a lot with no hope. Yuria was then shown resting peacefully against a tree during a beautiful sunset. The scene shifted to a tour where someone pointed out the academy buildings, asking if they could see everything from up there, and was told they would choose their majors soon, listing knighthood, spellcraft, engineering, production, and clergy. A student asked if the tribal association taught the same subjects as the Holy Empire, and the speaker confirmed they taught the same things as the furnace of battle and the great temple, jokingly telling them not to think of transferring out. The teacher then said she would explain the majors more, noting this was an important tutorial event about the world that the main character couldn't skip, or his efforts would be wasted. A student asked Housemaster Ophelia about the famous Void Zone, and she confirmed it was a restricted area where people got punished if they went there. The main character stared intensely as it was explained that the Void Zone was the remainder of a huge historical war between heaven and hell. It was the place where God's messengers and powerful warriors bound the demons. Even after hundreds of years, the clash between death and divine energy continues there, making it very important in case the demons break free. To watch over this, the Holy Empire, the Tribal Alliance, and the Empire created the Golden Triangle, which includes Elefante and other academies. The student asked if they could get closer to look at the area, and Ophelia agreed they could stay at the edge of the Seraph's protective barrier to be safe. She then planned for them to leave for lunch and come back, but the main character mentioned he was going to do something else. It was explained that angels and even a seraph, who are beings that can move mountains and dry oceans, created this barrier. Everyone agreed to have lunch near the barrier, which allows the academy to be so close to danger, but one student asked if he could eat further away because he felt uncomfortable being near everyone. The housemaster told the uncomfortable student that he couldn't go far away or he would get into trouble, leading to a disgruntled reaction from a nearby male teacher about a country bastard getting attention. Back to the masked figure, he prepared some rare ingredients like unicorn horn, phoenix feather, and coral berry fan for an item. He was using this item, which was a portable thurible called Ultima of Divinity. The masked man checked to make sure he hadn't missed anything, as he came all this way just to use this item on the crowd gathered in the bright light. He felt the energy surge, revealing that this device allowed him to reach beings that normal people could never even dream of contacting. A man in a sharp uniform stands facing a massive, glowing disturbance in the air, ready for whatever comes next. The scene shifts to the man asking where the allied forces are, as another person explains that they were told to flatten things, but instead, someone just put in a drain. The person who made the drain apparently said the Jirion guys did it. Someone points out a recruit who is struggling with digging, questioning if flattening means digging, while the recruit claims the ground is too hard. Another person points out that the shovel he is holding should be harder than the ground. 2 muscular figures with wings and halos look on, questioning what the human is doing, while below them, a beautiful angel with large wings appears, suggesting a higher presence is involved. The man observes someone watching them intently, noting that this person has been looking their way for a while now, but thankfully, they are quiet instead of bothering the workers. The worker who is digging is questioned about why he stopped, and he panics, stuttering an excuse as someone else demands to know why his shovel isn't moving. Suddenly, a bright light appears in the distance as someone else yells to spread things out and stop digging down. A loud sound effect accompanies the arrival of a delivery truck, as angels announce the holy mud bricks are here and tell everyone to hurry and take them down. The people ask how many bricks there are, and the answer suggests an infinite amount, causing someone to groan in distress. One of the angels questions another angel for eating a cloud cracker while a soldier is working, telling them to save their energy for driving, while another voice yells at the workers to hurry up since the seniors are working. The sound of someone being addressed as Private First Class Asura is heard. Private First Class Asura responds, asking the captain if the food shipment has arrived yet, and the captain apologizes, saying the delivery vehicle is lagging behind because it is being repaired. The captain tells Asura to wait a little longer, but then someone yells in frustration as a brick breaks, leading to the realization that there is a good reason angels don't just descend whenever they want. The main character reflects that if he had to describe angels, they would be like a military force with a strict hierarchy and chain of command. He continues explaining that in this game's otherworld, there are its own rules, and meeting angels is only possible after Chapter 2, with direct interaction with high-ranking ones coming much later. The main character states that he knows what the angels want, and it is something very simple. Then, the scene shifts to the main character receiving a huge amount of food, thanking them happily. The angels watch him eat heartily, with one angel wondering what he brought, and another trying to ask for a little bit of the food. Someone is told that they haven't even met the conditions to descend yet, and they are urged to hurry up and move the bricks. The main character tells the angels to eat before they get too tired from working. The offering transmission is complete, and the main character is called at this guy, but the angel agrees to give a 10-minute break to everyone. The workers ask if there are only sweet rolls, and someone excitedly points out there is a steak too, leading one angel to exclaim what a sensible human he is. The main character explains that the laws of the other world are different from the physical world, so one portion of his food is more than enough for all of them, and then he is asked to hand over the thurible next to him because he came to them because he wanted something. The angel says he will bless it and tells the main character to hand it over, promising to meet his expectations as long as the request is reasonable. The main character is surprised by how easy this is, not even needing to negotiate like he planned. The main character wonders why he is being treated so well when he is just a nobody, and the angel replies that he can tell the true nature of something just by looking, suggesting insight. The angel confirms the main character is well informed but points out that he has an ability that he hasn't developed at all, advising him to invest in it for future benefit. The main character wonders what gift the angel is talking about, perhaps his trait loved by evil. The angel says that gift is much stronger than the main character thinks, though how he wields it is up to him, warning that because of it, he has been caught by a cruel yet friendly monster. The main character is shocked, thinking he knew it, and resolves to secure the thurible and figure out strategies for survival. The angel observes that a normal human would be scared, but the main character calmly starts strategizing, making the angel feel he has nothing to worry about, and declares he is done with the blessing. The main character quietly thanks the angel, wondering what the angel meant by cruel yet friendly and if the angel was overestimating him by calling him a great man. The angel encourages him to believe in himself, saying he at least acknowledges him. The main character internally admits he is only working hard to survive, but will think carefully about the angel's warning. The main character reviews the blessings he received from the angel, the ultima of divinity which affects constitution and health for survivability, and notes that his desperate survival can boost his stats, making these skills useful. He realizes the most important part is evolution, as things in the world of SR can naturally improve, and getting these blessings early is great luck. However, he notes the problem is that he can't use mana right now, so he needs temporary measures, which is why he came here. The scene changes to the main character approaching a group, asking if paying attention is not one of their specialties, to which someone replies they were listening and heard everything, including the instruction to form teams of 2. The other person asks if he understands what a team of 2 is and questions where his partner is. The main character confidently says his partner will be there soon, causing the other person to laugh, asking who would come for an unpopular guy like him. The main character insists he is not lying and warns that the place will get crowded soon, prompting the other person to wonder what he is talking about, saying his partner isn't just popular. A large, angry-looking bear-like creature appears, seemingly involved in the conversation. The scene shows a close-up of a special item on the main character's wrist, and he states that his partner should be there soon according to the story. Then, a woman with orange hair appears, cheerfully saying hello. The orange-haired woman asks if this is the Monster Research Department, and the main character smiles, saying he originally didn't want to get involved with the protagonist but changed his mind after hearing the old angel's advice. He then asks the woman if what he said about getting to know each other before is still good, adding that he quite likes that person. The woman reacts with surprise. The woman calls him a crazy bastard, reminding him it is forbidden for freshmen to date each other. Someone else asks what Dodd is doing. Someone interrupts, saying they said they were nothing, as a figure resembling Dodd stands in the background, looking serious. The person talking is amazed, saying, "Incredible, Master Dodd." The speaker realizes Dodd has been trying to make them jealous strategy, and then wonders just how delusional this crazy bastard is. The orange-haired woman smiles intensely, admitting that Dodd is incredible and that since trying to work on something else hasn't been successful, he resorted to this strategy she has only heard about. The final thought expressed is a question about how delusional this crazy bastard is. The story starts at the Academy's mock dungeon, a place where students practice their fighting skills in a controlled environment. Inside, a person named Dodd is being guided by another character, who questions if Dodd is sure about their plan, reminding him how they fought when they first met. Dodd insists that if they want to be friends, the other person must follow his instructions. Dodd starts giving rapid-fire commands, telling the other person about incoming attacks from the ceiling and where to aim, despite the other person wanting him to help instead of just ordering around. The commands are very specific, like dodging daggers and arrows. As Dodd finishes his quick instructions, a shadow-like creature attacks aggressively, but the girl reacts just in time. More enemies, like bat-like monsters, appear from the ceiling, and the girl is reminded that their weak points are their necks, not their wings. Despite the guidance, the girl seems frustrated with taking orders and demands that Dodd help her instead of just telling her what to do. Dodd, however, continues giving more complex instructions for her to follow for 10 seconds. Dodd warns her about an attack coming from behind, and the girl is clearly struggling to keep up with the barrage of threats. The girl yells that if Dodd knows everything, he should be able to fare better than her, insisting that working together would make them finish faster. Dodd explains that he cannot help much because he is only an F-rank character, meaning his stats are low, and his special skill, Desperate Survival, won't activate in a mock fight against artificial beings. Because his survival skill is useless here, Dodd realizes he needs to quickly raise his own stats to manage the situation better. The girl, following Dodd's guidance, fights fiercely and manages to break through the obstacles, but she seems exhausted and wonders aloud if Dodd was being too harsh with his orders. Dodd gives a slightly unnerving smile, and suddenly, confetti flies, indicating they broke the previous record for clearing the stage. The girl is shocked to have a record set even though she thought she was only fighting alone, questioning what is happening since the stage was meant for 2 people. Dodd, however, seems pleased, saying they got lucky and ready to move to the next, harder area. The scene shifts to some higher-ups observing the mock dungeon results. They are impressed by the duo's performance and suggest they might need to put more money into mock battles next year. 2 important figures, Dean Percy and Conrad Voltivor from the Knighthood Department, discuss the surprising results. Percy is clearly interested in Dodd, whom she had been watching. Conrad asks if Percy means the next term's warrior candidate, but Percy corrects him, saying she is focused on Dodd Campbell. Conrad expresses surprise, calling Dodd a swindler who is just taking advantage of the warrior candidate. Percy immediately defends Dodd, arguing with Conrad and saying that the warrior candidate could never have achieved that record alone, pointing out Dodd's perfect judgment and calculated actions. Conrad insists that Dodd's every move looks too calculated, almost as if he has battlefield experience from thousands of real fights. Conrad then suggests a bet to Percy, and Dodd and the warrior candidate are called out. Conrad introduces himself as from the Knighthood Department and mentions he is interested in them. Conrad tells them he won't force them, acknowledging their current record is incredible and the new request is almost impossible. But Dodd quickly accepts the challenge, much to the surprise of the girl beside him. Percy seems annoyed at Conrad betting on their success, but Conrad confidently states he will bet on them, and they are told to begin the next trial. The scene changes, showing a woman with glasses who seems tired and asks someone to just give her water, mentioning they have been overdoing things recently. The tired woman is asked if there is something she wanted to remember, and she replies that when she was young, her mother taught her some moves, but she can't remember them, so she is reviewing them from the start. She then mentioned the dark rumor about the Tristan bloodline having two sides. The other person asks Elnor if she is overdoing it, but Elnor dismisses the concern, saying it is nothing to worry about now. Elnor is told that if it's not serious, she can just speak freely, and she asks why the other person is being so careful, asserting that nothing bothers her right now. The other person then mentions the immediate report she asked for. Dodd Campbell is currently with the next term's warrior candidate, Aniclimax. Elnor is shocked by this news, questioning why the other person is suddenly concerned when they claim not to care about it. The other character explains that Dodd Campbell is with Aniclimax, the girl who fought Dodd earlier. Elnor is surprised they paired up, especially since she thought the other person didn't care. The scene flashes back to the mock dungeon where Dodd and the girl are perfectly in sync, with Dodd giving orders that show perfect judgment. The observer notes that Dodd's actions are all calculated, making it seem like he has been on a battlefield thousands of times. The observer calls out to Percy, suggesting they make a bet, and then we see Dodd and the warrior candidate standing together after their successful run. Conrad Voltavor from the Knighthood Department approaches them, stating he is interested in watching them both. He and Dean Percy have decided to make a bet. The bet is whether they can break the record set by previous freshmen. Conrad adds that if they succeed, Percy will grant them the right to make any one request of her. Percy seems taken aback by how far Conrad is going, but Conrad assures them he won't force them if they feel burdened, recognizing their current achievement is amazing and the new task is nearly impossible. Dodd confidently replies that they can certainly do that much, making the girl beside him confused. Percy looks impressed, and Conrad states he is betting on their success. Conrad tells them to begin their next challenge. The scene cuts to Elnor being offered water by another woman who seems concerned that Elnor has been overdoing things lately. Elnor says there is something she wanted to remember, as she is trying to relearn moves her mother taught her when she was young. She reveals the dark rumor about the Tristan bloodline. It possesses inhuman prodigious talents but also suffers from occasional bursts of madness. The other person worries about Elnor overdoing it, but Elnor brushes it off, saying she doesn't worry about that rumor anymore. The other person confirms it is not serious and then reports that Dodd Campbell is currently with the next term's warrior candidate. Elnor is surprised to hear Dodd is with the warrior candidate, Aniclimax, the girl who fought Dodd before. She asks if they paired up. Elnor seems to relax, saying I see, perhaps assuming it was necessary because the mock battle requires teams of two. She sighs in relief. However, the other person presses further, questioning why Elnor is being so careful if she truly doesn't think anything of it, mentioning the information came from a junior. The woman who gave water then says that since Elnor told her nothing would bother her, she can say it. Dodd is with Aniclimax, and this is likely because the mock battle needs pairs. Elnor visibly tenses up, letting out a small sigh of relief as she processes the information about Dodd and Alia pairing up. Suddenly, Elnor becomes serious, spills her water, and demands to be taken there, contradicting her earlier statement that she didn't care about the situation. The professor asked what the warrior candidate planned to do, mentioning he knew they were skilled but questioned if challenging the all-time record was worth it. He wondered if the candidate had a good enough reason for such confidence. The professor continued that it was easier to target the monster's weak spots because their patterns were consistent, but this was something he couldn't tell the female candidate standing there. She seemed concerned by his words. The candidate insisted that the reason was because you're here with me, which made the female student blush, but she quickly told him she couldn't deceive him about something. Then, another character named Conrad asked if he was ready, and the candidate replied he had been ready. Someone said it was perfect, and now they could adjust the difficulty for the last part, but higher difficulty meant more bonus points. A female student with purple hair immediately demanded it be set to the highest difficulty, warning that the highest level was near true combat and there was a chance for death. Despite the danger warning, someone else believed there was a point in trying and agreed to meet the demand for the highest difficulty. Another character observed the scene, looking serious and thoughtful. The woman who was worried earlier looked serious as the challenge began, and someone told her not to be nervous. Warrior candidate. The male candidate then gripped his sword with a determined look, stating that the water was already spilled, meaning there was no turning back. The purple-haired woman expressed disbelief in Conrad, acting like this was new, reminding him they did something similar with the last freshman. She stressed that this time was different because people could actually die. The orange-haired candidate told Professor Percy that they would see, sure that Conrad had a reason for being so confident even if things got too dangerous. Below, the scene shifted to intense action with massive monsters attacking. The action showed the orange-haired girl fighting the creatures with skeletons scattered around, suggesting previous failures or dangers. Someone watching thought that all they needed to do was save them. The professor excitedly shouted that slaughter mode was activated and told the freshmen to prove themselves, his face intense. The orange-haired girl screamed in response, clearly struggling, and yelled, "Let's go!" Seeing the intensity, the purple-haired woman looked shocked, and the other male character with glasses cried, saying their club was finished. Meanwhile, the candidates stood ready amidst a danger has been detected warning. The scene showed huge, menacing monsters bearing down on the candidate, who was gathering energy into his sword, electricity crackling around him. The background showed a mix of red and blue light, indicating high tension. A system notification declared that the danger level was determined to be life-threatening, but the candidate looked determined, preparing his attack. He swung his glowing sword towards a monster. The candidate struck the large rhino-like monster midair with a powerful blow. The professor, who had been watching excitedly, exclaimed, "I knew it." The orange-haired girl also shouted that she knew it, while one of the onlookers whimpered. The candidate made another quick move, striking a creature with incredible speed, making someone wonder how that was possible. Someone questioned how this was possible, suggesting the candidate was completely useless before, but it was realized that he was just pretending to be weak. The candidate stood ready, surrounded by glowing blue energy from his sword. Professor Percy admitted he wouldn't blame the other professor, saying he would have reacted the same way if he hadn't seen the skill change before. The purple-haired woman realized that as time passed, the monsters would get stronger, and so would he, meaning they would grow simultaneously. The fight continued fiercely, with the orange-haired girl kicking and fighting a giant red spider-like monster, while other smaller figures attacked. Energy trails showed powerful strikes connecting with the enemies. The candidate was seen deftly dodging and striking the smaller monsters, sending one flying. The energy from his attacks was immense as the orange-haired girl continued her assault below. The orange-haired girl landed a huge blow on the giant red monster, causing a massive explosion of light and force. She then yelled at Dodd, "Now, Dodd!" Dodd responded with an "okay," as he launched into a powerful move against the largest remaining threat, which looked like a demonic, horned creature. The attack generated massive red and yellow energy. The candidate performed the Tristan sword technique called La Volpe, as intense impact sounds filled the air as he struck the massive red monster. He was shown dashing away from the resulting blast. The result of the attack was a massive explosion of power, and below, the candidate was seen quickly moving away from the impact zone. People were already congratulating them on their incredible strength. They learned that Dodd Campbell and Alia Crixanax had managed to break the all-time record. As the smoke cleared, the candidate stood looking calm, while someone shouted, "Huh!" The candidate crouched low, and someone shouted for him to get down, as a massive, dark energy blast formed below him, suggesting a final, powerful attack was coming from the massive creature. A huge explosion of yellow and red light erupted from the ground, showing the power of the final blow, and as the dust settled, the green-haired professor was seen kneeling, looking at another person standing over him. The candidate congratulated the other one, saying it seems they set an unbreakable record that won't be broken for years to come. He thanked the warrior candidate, mentioning how amazing it was to have someone capable of defeating the artificial monsters of the field of grass. The professor, Conrad, claimed victory over Percy, who seemed surprised and somewhat defeated. A witch-like figure next to Conrad commented, "Must be nice." As Conrad smirked, a document was shown detailing the rewards, renting one item from the Vision Warehouse and the ability to ask the Dean of Spellcraft for any favor. The orange-haired girl and the candidate exclaimed how amazing this was. The candidate noted that this wasn't something any freshman had access to, asking if they got the same rewards, which was confirmed. Then, he asked Dodd why he was always so calm, suggesting he always acted like he already knew how things would unfold or as if it was all planned. Dodd, looking slightly annoyed, replied that of course, he knew all these things, calling the other guy an idiot and questioning if guys don't act this way with their friends. He then extended his fist towards the orange-haired girl. The girl responded with a confident gesture, saying, "A fist bump." The candidate paused, thinking to himself, seriously? They shared a fist bump, and a system notification appeared showing Alia Crixanax's curiosity stage 5 was close to the trustworthy stage. As the candidate asked if everything was all good, the girl just hummed. The girl cheerfully told Dodd, "All right. See you tomorrow then, Dodd," as she leapt away energetically, leaving him standing there. The candidate admitted he didn't know if she was friendly or just odd, which the other character agreed with, saying, "Right. That's what I thought too." Then he suddenly got serious, asking, "Wait, the student council president as a powerful-looking woman in a formal military outfit appeared. The imposing figure of the student council president was shown in detail, standing powerfully over a beautiful, sparkling background. The student president suddenly asks the main character if he likes the freshman girl, which clearly surprises him. He notices that his survival mode is not activating, suggesting the girl isn't planning anything dangerous right now, and then she repeats her question, stating she will only say it once. The main character gets a system warning that danger has been detected, making him feel like he needs to say something immediately, even as a flashback shows someone waking up. The scene quickly transitions, showing the title card of the chapter, and then the main character hesitantly addresses the student president. The student president asks what is wrong, and the main character stammers, explaining that even though he has been training with Aaliyah all this time, he wanted to see her. Aaliyah suddenly interrupts, looking somewhat disappointed, and questions what Dodd Campbell is doing, implying his excuse won't work. The student president gives a slight smile and asks if the main character is saying he missed her this entire time. The main character confirms this, but then wonders why he even said it, while the student president looks down at him. The student president then dismisses it as just a friendship thing, saying she understands because she saved him on the train, and tells him to remember the priority listing, leaving the main character totally confused about this priority. She then gives him an envelope, telling him not to worry about it and that she was just there to give this to him, making him wonder if it is a love letter or a challenge, which surprises him since this didn't happen in the original story. She tells him she planned to give it to him tomorrow during the freshman welcome party, but he should open it when he is alone. After she leaves, the main character looks down at the letter, regretting opening it so soon. He realizes the letter asks him to become her partner, and he remembers that tomorrow is the freshman welcome party. He thinks that becoming her partner is not a big deal, only needing to spend time with her during the party, but the real problem is the penalty if he rejects her offer. If he rejects the offer, not only will her affection levels drop, but it might also make the other girl hostile towards him. Meanwhile, Aaliyah appears, noting that the main character catches onto things quickly, and hands him another envelope. The main character asks what this is, confused because he already got one, and he worries that Aaliyah might also have a request, especially since she mentioned it would be a surprise. Aaliyah excitedly explains that she made up her mind during the mock battle and tells him to hurry up and read it, hinting that she might have to run from the student president's rules. She yells at him to hurry up and read it while he reacts in panic, and she jumps up excitedly. The main character is overwhelmed by this sudden turn of events, exclaiming about how many weird people are in this world. He wonders what the second letter is, thinking it might be another partner request, but then considers it could be a challenge request from Aaliyah, especially since she called it a surprise, which again, was not in the original story. He realizes with horror that it is indeed a partner request, pitting the final boss Elnor against the main character Aaliyah in a standoff. He screams in panic because this situation never happened in the original story, seeing the two letters laid out before him. He frets over the impossible choice. Choosing Elnor makes him a villain to the main character, but choosing Aaliyah risks hostility from the final boss due to the priority list, which could lead to death. He desperately wonders if he can refuse both of them, realizing this mess happened because both are still in the interested stage, confirming this is a big problem. Sitting alone, he wonders if he should just accept both offers. The scene shifts to the grand hall of the welcome party, showing its opulent interior. People are asking about the last kid from Class C, and then someone from Class B asks if the main character is from Class A, quickly finding a professor and pointing out where the person is. The hall is packed with many people, and the main character notes there are a lot of people there. Aaliyah comments that the place is a complete mess, but then thanks the main character for coming with her. She addresses him as Dodd, and he reacts with a small huff, looking determined. Dodd and Aaliyah walk away from the crowd, heading towards some destination. The main character is secretly using his system, spending all his points to buy the Clone Walker ability, which allows him to create a clone of himself with applied buffs, hoping this might work even if it's just a replacement. The system confirms he has decided on a double date event and warns him not to get caught until the end, or a penalty will be applied. He worries that even with many people around, his plan could go badly if he and his clone are seen together, so he decides he will use the cold gentleman option to keep the other person quiet before moving on. Suddenly, a terrifying monster with its mouth wide open appears with a roar. Someone yells to get out of the way as a horse-drawn carriage with a cage is seen, and the main character realizes it's just a monster from the outside that they plan to experiment on before it escapes. He recalls that the monster's escape will start the main event, and his only job is to survive, hoping it won't be too bad with Elnor and Aaliyah there, while he secretly purchases and applies the pheromone buff, making him no longer just a boy. Someone calls out to him, and he looks up in surprise to see the student president, Elnor, standing there, exclaiming, "Oh, student president." Elnor immediately notices a smell and asks him if he sprayed something, but the main character denies it, saying the flowers just smell nice. Elnor insists she can tell the scent is from him and says it is driving her crazy, looking smitten. The scene focuses on Elnor's stylish appearance, emphasizing the effect of the pheromone buff. The guy was shocked when the term pheromones was mentioned, telling the officer to stop what she was doing. It was noted that the effects of pheromones had been applied to the target, Elnor. Despite the pheromones working, the system pointed out that the target was trying her best not to get interested in him. The officer, Dodd Campbell, let out a sigh as she seemed pleased. Dodd wondered why she hadn't known about something until now, commenting that he was manlier than she thought. The guy panicked intensely, begging her to stop again. The screen then showed the title of the chapter in a bright, golden light. The scene changed to a grand hall where Dodd suggested they head to an event and check out the nearby stalls. He asked the other person, who seemed to be Elnor, what she thought. Elnor told him to take the lead as a freshman, while another character thought to himself that the clone and Aaliyah should have met up by now. This character needed to make sure he avoided contact with them. Elnor tried to calm herself down, hoping nothing would happen. She thought maybe nothing would happen if things kept going like this. Another character then suggested going to a snack stall for some food, specifically mentioning wild boar skewers, while the first character needed to escort the clone and Aaliyah. Elnor agreed to go for the skewers. The suggestion of wild boar skewers made the character realize this was the worst thing for Elnor, who watched her figure, so he needed to lower the pheromones' effects. Elnor then asked how he knew she liked those, wondering if it was a coincidence. He quickly replied that it was a coincidence, thinking to himself that maybe if she saw he didn't like the wild boar, it would help. Elnor, while eating a skewer, called out to Dodd, asking if he was still eating. Dodd needed to maintain their current relationship while keeping a certain distance, which meant he had to make sure Aaliyah stayed far away from them. He continued thinking about keeping Aaliyah away. Then Elnor pointed out that they were near accessory stalls and asked if the freshman needed anything. The freshman replied by saying no, but offered to buy Elnor a gift instead. The freshman inwardly panicked, realizing he could not buy Elnor a gift and needed to lower her affection towards him. He spotted a nice button and asked her opinion, while thinking he needed to give her the worst possible gift. Elnor mentioned she actually needed a button for one of her uniforms, which made the situation much harder for the freshman. She then looked at him intently, realizing this would be difficult. Switching to a different conversation later, someone asked if the other person had chosen their major yet. The other person confirmed they had and planned on majoring in theology. The first person was surprised to hear theology and then urged him to rethink his decision, saying it would be a waste of his talent if he didn't join the Knights. The person who chose theology explained there was something specific he wanted to learn in that department, stating firmly that he chose this path for a reason. The other person leaned in, asking what exactly he wanted to learn. He explained that in order to protect what was precious to him, he needed to learn something there. When asked what he wanted to protect, he critically answered, "My life and your downfall." He further stated that holy skills were perfect for his survival and crucial for achieving the ending he wanted. He then revealed that since he was little, there was something he wanted to protect. This thing he wanted to protect was related to the Secret Society incident, an event coming up where the chapter boss was unusually weak against holy skills. The question was then asked if this was why he was so involved with her. Elnor seemed to realize something, saying that, and then stated she was well aware of the Tristan family's curse. She confirmed she was talking about the curse that turned all family members deranged, while a memory showed a happy couple. She then questioned if the only way to prevent it wasn't through mental training, asking if he was aware of this solution. Elnor then revealed the solution was the angel's blessing, a miracle where two archangels give a single person their blessing, or so it was said. She stressed how difficult that was, questioning why the Tristans were still feared despite their accomplishments. She then looked intensely at him, asking how he was able to stay so close to her, and if he was always there when someone tried to assassinate her. She then asked what his intentions were. After a moment of silence looking at a glass, he started to reply about the thing he wanted to protect. He clearly stated that the thing he wanted to protect is you. She then asked what she was to him that he wanted to protect her. He told her that if he didn't protect her, he would die, and that he had no other reason. She agreed, saying it was true and she didn't have any other reason, adding that she knew this from the start. She then noted that he was truly an odd man, to which he replied that he had been told that plenty of times. He let out a sigh, thinking that he told her the entire truth with no lies, and hoped this was enough to satisfy her curiosity. The scene then shifted to a dark basement with heavy chains. Someone walked into the dimly lit basement where chained, monstrous creatures were kept, including a large wolf-like monster and a smaller bear-like one. Elsewhere, the clone and another woman were walking, and the woman wondered if Dodd was mad because he wasn't talking much. The woman in the orange hair expressed surprise at how they ended up in the basement, thinking she needed to get closer to him to learn about the Tristan family. She then mused that she was not sure what to do with men like him. The clone looked serious, thinking he didn't know what to do with men in general, which was driving him crazy. He then looked around, asking what this place even was. The orange-haired woman realized they were looking at living monsters, noting that it looked like they were all used for the Academy's experiments. She was shocked the professors were fine with just leaving them in the basement like this. A large, ferocious monster roared loudly, startling the woman who asked huh. She continued to look around the dungeon area. She exclaimed in shock that even some larger monsters were there, and even worse, they were not even tied down. She looked horrified as she peered through the bars of a cage. The large monster lunged forward, and the orange-haired woman was blasted away by a powerful explosion. The man, who looked like the clone, was thrown onto the floor by the force of the blast. Back in the grand hall, the first man and Elnor were standing, looking stunned as the crowd reacted with panic. The orange-haired woman looked up at the clone in disbelief, calling out D-Dot as he stood over her. He seemed somewhat pained as he stood up, and she asked him why he stated, "This is my job." She looked confused and asked, "What do you mean?" She called out Dodd. As the two enraged monsters, the wolf and the demon, roared fiercely. The monsters continued to roar while the scene shifted to some metal pipes lying on the floor, accompanied by a sigh of relief. The orange-haired woman, looking determined, said, "Anyways, thank you for protecting me." She then declared, "Now it's my turn to protect you." She grabbed one of the metal pipes like a weapon, standing over the unconscious man, ready to face the monsters. The chapter ended with a bright, glowing background effect. The big monster roared loudly as the person below prepared for an attack. A massive wave of energy was gathering, ready to clash with the beast. The impact of the fight caused a huge shockwave, making other people nearby shout in surprise. Then, a white-haired figure appeared, drawing the real Tristan sword, which surprised another student watching. The white-haired fighter swung her sword with incredible power, focusing a huge burst of energy right toward the monstrous creature below. After the intense battle, a tired-looking woman with white hair was seen sitting alone in the rain, feeling the weight of what just happened. The fight resumed with an even bigger clash of power as the white-haired fighter struck the beast hard with her glowing attack. The monster roared in pain as the ground cracked from the force of the powerful blow, showing how much damage the attack caused. A student cried out, asking if Elnor was okay, as the monster roared again, seemingly wounded. Elnor then stood ready, glowing with bright energy, facing the danger. Someone recognized the move as the real Tristan sword technique, which was much stronger than any copied version. The main character, looking shocked, realized Elnor was deeply involved in this fight. Elnor continued her fierce attack, striking the beast multiple times with focused, blinding bursts of light and energy. Elnor's attack landed another solid hit right on the monster's face, drawing blood and showing the fight was far from over. With a final, powerful swing named Tremontana, Elnor cut through the monster with immense force. The massive swing created a huge arc of light that enveloped the monster, clearly hitting it with devastating effect. After the final strike, a huge explosion rocked the area, and Elnor stood looking at the result, shielding her eyes from the brightness. The main character realized Elnor was using a power far beyond expectations, something that didn't happen in the original story. He saw a system notification for completing the monster subjugation quest, and knew the knights would arrive in 30 seconds. He thought about how the professors supporting the Tristans argued for monster experiments. If Elnor got involved, it was like admitting her own family's faults, but he knew she wasn't interested in politics. Looking at the scene below, the main character wondered why Elnor was helping them. Others urged to just finish the quest and figure things out later, then shouted for everyone to get out. Elnor confirmed that everyone managed to get out safely, standing tall and composed after the fight. Someone let out a sigh of relief, thinking it was finally over. The main character looked on, realizing the situation had changed drastically. Suddenly, a shadowy, fiery figure appeared behind Elnor, who sharply called out, "Behind you." Elnor turned around quickly, preparing for a new confrontation with her sword ready. As the new enemy attacked, Elnor used a powerful, bright, angelic technique to defend, causing the fiery skull-like enemy to react in pain. The shadowy creature reacted in agony as the bright light struck it, while the main character, still recovering, also felt the impact. Elnor looked intensely at the fighting, and the main character seemed to have sustained a small injury. The scene faded to black with just a faint sound, suggesting a sudden shift in location or a loss of consciousness. The main character woke up suddenly in a bed, startled, as someone told him he was awake. He immediately asked about the monsters and Elnor. Deed Campbell informed him that the monsters were defeated and Elnor was fine, along with all the other students. The Chancellor, Atalante Swanson, was there visiting him. Atalante asked if he was surprised by her visit, saying she wanted to talk after the freshman duels. The main character nervously said he was fine, while internally wondering why the 1,000-year-old immortal, Atalante, was visiting him. He worried if it was about him using the angel's blessing, but Atalante stated she was there to share some bad news and even worse news. She then asked what he wanted to hear first. Atalante explained that he was getting more attention than any student ever had, because no one else got involved in so many incidents due to bad luck. She warned him he would keep running into trouble based on her experience. He waited with a serious look while Atalante revealed there was another piece of bad news. He asked how much she knew about the demon. The woman with the monocle asked how much the other person knew about the situation. The man then questioned her specifically about the demon. Someone noted that Dodd Campbell had an interesting reaction, not showing much worry even when the academy president brought up a serious topic. This made the speaker wonder why Dodd was so calm about the situation. The visitor mentioned that they don't think they should reveal how much they really know. If they did reveal everything, they worried about what the person sitting on the bed might be scheming. The person questioned what was meant by scheming. The speaker looked annoyed by the situation and mentioned that some damage had to be done. The person speaking knew that the other was bothered by the fact that he was the only one without a class assignment and could not attend classes yet. The situation was explained as being caused by recent events that made things difficult. The speaker admitted that they had to handle some problems that had come up. This explanation seemed to surprise the other person, who was still processing the situation. The woman explained that the current ruling power does not have much control over their society right now, making the timing very bad for them. They are so desperate for talented people that they will even bring them in from places like hell. The man in bed notes that all the recent big events, like the tribal association's coup and changes in the Holy Empire, must have caught the attention of powerful groups. Despite this, he observes that these groups have not made any move, suggesting someone is deliberately stopping information from getting out. The man stated that the reason for all the recent events was indeed related to the Golden Triangle. The woman with the monocle then asked him to look at himself. The character noted that while the Golden Triangle seemed like friendly neighbors for the moment, the entire continent was feeling the impact of recent events. All the incidents the speaker was involved in should have already caught their attention, yet they remained quiet, suggesting someone was stopping the flow of information. Beneath the surface, a fierce competition for the best talents is still happening right now. Most students would not care about any of this. The speaker notes that because of the instability, the entire continent is feeling the effects of what is happening. All the past events the person was involved in should have already made the major powers take notice. Despite everything that has happened, the powerful groups have still not made a move. This strange silence suggests that someone is actively stopping information from getting out. The person thought that whoever was causing the trouble was very smart politically. They asked if it would be dangerous to catch the attention of this power now. The person speaking confirms that the world will end, causing the man to react with shock as a massive explosion of pink energy erupts below him over a burning city. This event seems directly linked to the terrible things the speaker mentioned earlier about the purifiers. There was a massive, fiery explosion that caused people to be thrown into the air. Someone asked if the other person knew about a certain seal amidst this chaos. The character held up a piece of paper with a strange symbol on it, confirming this was the reason for asking about demons. The young man recognized the mark as the seal of the purifiers. He wondered if the person he was speaking to already knew about the secret demon-worshipping organization. The speaker states that the previous incidents were attempts to attack the Tristan family. There is no certainty that a third attempt will not occur. He asked why he was being told all this information. Although the speaker could not say the reason, the speaker insisted that he take the strange dark object. Someone presents him with an interdimensional key, which is described as a game-changing item that can open doors to other worlds. Seeing his reaction, the presenter is sure he understands exactly what the item is. The person told the other to take good care of the item and show them their progress. If they liked what they saw, they would receive more gifts. The person receiving the item agreed that the conversation they just had must remain a secret. As the other person walked away holding a hot drink, the person in bed thought about the unexpected gift. The woman asked about his progress with the warrior candidate and the lady of Tristan, which made the man inwardly frustrated. He thought about how easily the world could end here, noting that the plan's final goal needed those 3 people. The young man assures her that things are going well, to which the woman responds that she hopes it stays that way. He then questions why she says that, as he wonders why the world would end so easily here. The person asked if there was a reason to do something, and the answer was a firm yes. If they did not comply, the entire world would end, making the listener clutch his head in despair. A huge destructive event caused a character to exclaim about how easily the world ends here, while small floating items like animal heads and a fish skeleton fell amidst the fire. Someone below then laughed and said they were not lying. She revealed that the grand plan could only succeed by using those 3 specific individuals. Dodd Campbell thought about the conversation and the strange gift he received. The person sighed, thinking about the end of the world. They decided to think about the gift later, surprised to have received such an item. He felt relief after handling something, but then realized obtaining this item was impossible for the player, suggesting a problem with the main story. A man with green-tinged hair then appeared, looking for Dodd Campbell. The Dean of Knights, Comrade Voltador, appeared and told Dodd Campbell that he was looking for him. Even without a class assignment, Dodd could not skip the mandatory classes, so Conrad gave him a temporary assignment starting tomorrow. The man wondered why he was being sought out by the Dean of Knights, Comrade Voltador. Even though he still lacked a class assignment, he was told he could not miss all of his classes. Professor Conrad told the young man that he must still attend classes, even without an assigned class yet. He handed him a temporary assignment stating that starting tomorrow, he would be taking classes with certain people. The man looked surprised, letting out a confused huh as he held the paper he was reading. A sudden shift in the background suggested a dramatic moment was unfolding around him. The class vice president, Alia Crixnax, looks down with a knowing smile as the other person shouts dramatically that the end of the world is near. The gravity of the situation is emphasized by the intense visual effects surrounding the shocked individual. The lesson continued with the idea that the sword is the most basic weapon for any fight, but the speaker asked what to do when there are obstacles. Suddenly, Lady Tristan interrupted the professor with a question, making the professor pause before telling her to go ahead. Lady Tristan questioned if the professor was getting too deep into theory, arguing that such information would not be useful in a real battle, because even a skilled swordsman could be beaten by a ranged weapon. The professor agreed that ranged attacks are a problem and stressed that if one plans to train extremely with the sword, they must also practice archery or throwing techniques. Another student thought the professor was right, saying a swordsman can dodge arrows or rocks using the surroundings, and asked what happens if the terrain doesn't help when the enemy gets close. This student further questioned how they would close the range difference without terrain advantage, suggesting that is why they are learning about close quarters combat. The argument got heated, with one person saying the lecturer should just stop interrupting the professor if they feel forced to be there, which caused the student president to react strongly. The student president, Elnor, was provoked and confronted the other student, leading to a tense standoff where the class looked ready to break up. The chapter title appears here, showing the name of the manhwa, before the argument continues with one person saying theoretical ideas won't work in real life. The other student replied that the advice is better than listening to the insulter, and the warrior candidate felt insulted, asking for the lecture to continue. The orange-haired girl, seemingly winning the argument, triumphantly told the professor to continue, implying her side had won this small battle. The silver-haired girl, Elnor, who seemed to support the warrior candidate, said it was only a single loss and told the professor he may continue. The professor gave up on lecturing and suggested self-study, noting that these 2 students had been fighting the whole time, making the other students stare awkwardly. The main character realized he was stuck between the warrior candidate and the family heir, deciding to just focus on his own things. He then received a system notification about Elnor Tristan, whose trust level reached 5 and affection level reached 1, making a reward ready. The system showed details about her learned skills, Tristan's sword techniques and breathing technique deep, which were highly compatible. The system explained that these two skills work together perfectly, giving great physical buffs, and this combination is best used by Elnor due to her monstrous close quarters combat skills. It was mentioned that this combination is why Elnor becomes the final boss, while the system then popped up a notification for Alia Crixanax, whose curiosity level hit 5 and interest level reached 1, also ready for a reward. The reward for Alia was the rule of evil, which involved exercising influence over good individuals affiliated with the user, making them accept one request. The system also informed the main character that keeping friends close and enemies closer with higher affection levels yields greater rewards, and making good people turn bad gives even greater rewards. He wondered what this meant, realizing he could get rewards for turning good people evil, and thought about it with a hum. The scene shifted outdoors where the instructor called them his chicks and announced they would be practicing survival skills in Survival 101. A large group of students stood waiting in a clearing as two instructors walked toward them. One instructor told them that if they don't want to enter a dungeon or ruin, there is nothing to lose by learning survival skills, and then gave the simple task, enter the forest and bring back something he would like. The main character questioned if there was any scoring rubric, but the instructor smirked and said the scoring was up to him, adding that the student president would also be scoring. The silver-haired student president showed her displeasure with a test while the instructor wished everyone good luck. Alia, the orange-haired girl, found the vague instruction annoying but was excited, saying life is all about experience and that they would start in 5 minutes. The main character was thinking about his new rule of evil skill, wondering how to use it to make good people turn bad, when Alia approached Dodd, asking if he wanted to work together. Dodd nervously told her that she should work with her friends instead, clearly uncomfortable with the idea. Alia playfully insisted Dodd was her friend too, telling him to go back to his main character party, while another hooded character asked Dodd why they shouldn't just work together. The hooded character was told no, as working together would just make her the third wheel. Alia noticed Dodd seemed off and asked if he was feeling unwell, to which Dodd replied it was nothing, just that they weren't that close. Alia's expression hardened slightly at his comment about not being close. There was a brief pause as Alia looked at Dodd with a serious expression. Alia then dismissively said, "That's unfortunate." "Fine," and walked away, sitting down next to Dodd, who seemed to be leaning on her back. The focus shifted to the ground as Alia stood up, leaving Dodd alone. The hooded girl, Alia, asked Dodd if she was too harsh on Alia, and Dodd noted that Alia looked annoyed. Dodd mumbled something, and Alia called out the name Dodd Campbell, making him look up in surprise. Alia directly asked Dodd about his relationship with the warrior candidate. Dodd admitted that Talion Arm and the warrior candidate is the most skilled after Alia and that he later becomes a mid-boss, before stammering that he just happens to know her. Alia coldly stated that someone as skilled as her has no reason to interact with Dodd, and then the rule of evil system notification popped up, saying a good individual has been enraged by his influence. Alia questioned Dodd about the rumors surrounding the duel and why he keeps getting involved with her, while Dodd inwardly noted he had fulfilled the condition to make him angry and considered if the duel was just a sham. Dodd told Alia that the duel was not a sham, but then he taunted her, suggesting maybe she wished it was. Dodd continued, asking if seeing her goal defeated in one go made her feel the gap between them. The chapter ended with intense close-ups of their confrontational expressions and Alia looking down, processing what Dodd had said. Someone was told that seeing their goal defeated so quickly must have made them feel a big difference between them and the speaker. This gap led the speaker to suggest a bet, who among them will get a higher score on the current assignment. The other person readily agreed to this perfect suggestion. The person who agreed looked quite pleased with the arrangement. Then, a new character, the student council president with white hair and a serious look, appeared. She questioned the person with green hair about helping with scoring students and treating it too casually, but he insisted he was serious and asked for an explanation. The student council president then asked why Dodd Campbell already had a maximum score even though he hadn't submitted his assignment yet. The green-haired person stated that Dodd deserves it, suggesting the president was not happy with his scores and asking her to look at it from his point of view. The president then decided that if that was the case, she would observe Dodd closely to justify why he deserved the max score, telling the other person she'd be right back. As she left, the green-haired person noted that the president seemed to be trying to stay close to Dodd, which she quickly denied, saying she just didn't want him alone with the warrior candidate because something might happen between them, so she needed to check on them. She then asked for permission to check on them, adding a condition that even though she couldn't participate, she could still kick the other person out if needed. A nun-like figure with white hair looked down thoughtfully, clutching a small cross. This figure noticed the warrior candidate, Aliyah, and observed that she seemed different today, sensing many strong monsters gathered nearby. Suddenly, the warrior candidate let out a yell and powerfully struck down a charging monster in midair. The monster was clearly defeated, with blood splattering from its mouth as it fell. Another man with red hair, holding an axe, noticed the monster activity and commented that all the strong monsters were gathered, asking if something rare was nearby. The blonde character confirmed that it was a rare mineral region and suggested that if they collected a few gems, they could avoid getting a low score, to which the bespectacled character agreed to stop hunting and have Luca move the minerals. The scene shifted to show some dark, negative energy affecting someone, causing violent, shadowy figures to be struck down forcefully. The warrior candidate, Aliyah, unleashed a brilliant burst of golden energy from her fists, radiating intense power. As the dust settled, the observing nun figure saw the dark colors of negative emotions and declared she could see all of it. She realized that although Aliyah might not look it, she was currently angry, and then called out to Aliyah to ask how she had been doing recently. Aliyah, looking a bit worn but smiling, replied that nothing much was going on recently. The nun insisted that if something was bothering her, she could help, but Aliyah argued that nothing was happening. The nun thought to herself that even if Aliyah said so, she worried that Aliyah's emotions might take over her. The nun continued to press, saying she knew something was bothering Aliyah, and Aliyah sighed, asking if it was that obvious. The nun replied that she could never lie to Trisha and then brought up Dodd Campbell, noting that he kept his distance from Trisha, even though all Trisha wanted was to be friends with him. Trisha admitted they had been through a lot recently, but she didn't think it was necessary to draw such a line between them. The nun suggested that maybe that wasn't Dodd's true intention, making Trisha wonder what she meant. The nun explained that since Dodd was a boy from a small barren family, if Trisha, the warrior candidate, was seen with him, many people would surely worry about her. Trisha wondered if that meant Dodd was trying to help her by keeping his distance, and the nun agreed, saying he might be worried about causing unnecessary misunderstandings. The nun added that Dodd would surely keep his distance until he built his reputation, but he thought highly of Trisha as a friend, which made Trisha excitedly ask if she really thought so. The scene brightened to a beautiful landscape as Talion was shown panting heavily, seeming extremely stressed or angry. A notification stated that Talion's rage was reaching its maximum limits as he dashed forward, the message below saying someone had given him lasting shame. Another notification declared that his negative influence had been solidified and he had earned a rule of evil activation reward and one command. Talion looked enraged, screaming at someone, calling them a fucking bastard and threatening to kill them, his close-up showing intense anger as he swore to turn the person into a skewer. Talion managed to dodge a fast strike aimed at him and then was seen lunging downward aggressively. As spears or sharp objects flew towards him, Talion looked shocked and cried out. He yelled at the person to stop running and fight like a man, angrily asking they were taking all the last hits after he had done most of the damage. Talion tried to reach out and stop someone, shouting, "Wait, stop," with a look of surprise. As Talion was stopped, the blonde figure looked on with extreme anger, shouting Talion. Talion, with a strained smile, asked if they should just split the rewards in half if that was the case, followed by a large text shouting, "You bastard." Talion then ran away as a large tree was suddenly destroyed by an explosion nearby. The blonde character, Leclerc, prepared to use a powerful electric attack with her spear, electricity crackling around her weapon. She called out Leclerc's name in a threatening manner, ready for a fierce fight. Leclerc attacked downwards with immense speed and power, aiming her spear. The spear tip glowed intensely with blue lightning as it drove downward. There were signs of a massive impact, and the blonde character looked fiercely determined. Talion looked up with wide eyes and a shocked exclamation as something shattered near him with a bright, golden impact. The warrior candidate, like Aliyah, stood ready, holding her sword low after what looked like a devastating block or parry. The golden energy subsided, showing broken pieces of wood, and focused on Aliyah's intense, angry face with glowing yellow eyes. Aliyah, surrounded by golden light, firmly declared, "Keep your hands off my friend." A tense moment starts as someone fiercely tells another person to keep their hands off their friend, asking if it is Aliyah. The person addressed as the warrior candidate replies that it has been a while since they last met, especially after the monsters escaped. The orange-haired girl corrects him, stating this is their first time meeting after he lost to her, showing intense determination. Meanwhile, another character, likely Dodd, is shocked and wonders where this powerful girl suddenly came from. The blonde character, recovering quickly, laughs nervously and says it is good to see the warrior candidate too. Aliyah immediately confronts the blonde person, asking what they were doing to Dodd and warning them not to bother him. Dodd tries to explain, but Aaliyah cuts him off, saying she does not want to hear excuses, and then swiftly knocks the blonde person down with a powerful move. With the blonde person defeated on the ground, Aaliyah stands over them, acknowledging their defeat but questioning why they keep defending Dodd. Aaliyah tells the defeated person that someone as skilled as them should not worry about who she associates with. Dodd steps in, mentioning that he hates people who act superior and get angry at others, but then shouts that the blonde person is lying to everyone and doing this to teach them a lesson. Dodd insists that the person they are arguing with is not someone cruel like the defeated person suggests, but the blonde person retorts by asking if Dodd wants to be knocked out in one strike again like last time. Hearing this threat, the blonde person is horrified, realizing that Dodd might have shown his true strength before, making them scared they could have died. The blonde person apologizes to Dodd, bowing their head low in shame and regret. Promising not to approach without permission, the blonde person agrees to try and get along, leading Dodd to look on silently for a moment. Aaliyah walks away, seemingly satisfied, as someone notes that she is good at teaching people lessons, as expected of the warrior candidate. Dodd then wonders if he and Aaliyah are still considered friends, to which he assumes they are, at least for now. Shaking off the thought, Dodd remembers he needs to get graded for an assignment and calls out to Aaliyah. A new character, Trisha, wearing a nun-like outfit, introduces herself to Dodd, remembering him as Aaliyah's friend, and says she has something to ask. Dodd internally sighs, noting that Trisha always drags out her conversations, but Trisha continues, somewhat annoyingly, asking about Aaliyah. Trisha finds the situation bothersome but insists Dodd let her get her score first, while Dodd seems taken aback by her focus on the score. Dodd reflects that Aaliyah made the other person fight Talion, which is unusual because Aaliyah usually tries to talk things out instead of immediately drawing her sword. Trisha points out that Dodd is the problem, which leaves Dodd completely confused. Dodd is shocked by the accusation, and then the scene shifts to the student president, who appears to have just defeated someone, noting that the defeated kid got better. The student president asks the defeated person if they are playing dead and suggests just giving her a punishment, while the defeated person lies there, seemingly unconscious from a fight. Dodd, watching this, realizes the other girl insisted on entering the forest and that he won their fight, leading him to think this whole school situation is crazy. The student president grins, noting the defeated person is better now, but Dodd steps in, saying he is here for his score, and the defeated person weakly says it was nothing. The student president confirms Dodd is in first place and says the victory was well earned because he took time to pick the best ingredients, also mentioning he already has a wish agreement. The student president suggests Dodd use the ingredients to earn brownie points with Percy, to which Dodd agrees, before Trisha asks if they are done so they can leave class. Trisha says they are free to leave, but asks Dodd to take care of Aaliyah and warns him not to be too nice to her. Trisha explains that whenever Aaliyah talks about Dodd, she loses all sense, and Dodd says he is grateful for the warning but also scared, promising to do his best. Trisha tells Dodd he better do his best if he wants to stay safe, and then the scene moves to the spellcraft department where Dodd is speaking to a purple-haired woman on a throne. The woman asks Dodd if he wants to use his one wish already, and Dodd confirms he needs something from her, the goddess of spellcraft, saying he needs to be prepared for the upcoming Purifier boss fight. The purple-haired woman tells him to stop praising her, saying she cannot do complicated things anymore, but Dodd counters that it is not like she will be the only one working on his requests. The woman admits the Chancellor told her to help him as much as possible, and as long as the intention is not wrong, she will do it, asking what he wants. Dodd believes the effects of special skills are better than any item, and though they are good for now, he needs more preparation because Dodd Campbell is too weak to overcome the Purifier's different patterns. That is why Dodd states he needs something specific. He declares that he needs a cannon. Dodd specifies he needs a cannon that could blow away the entire academy, which makes the purple-haired woman look shocked. The woman asks in disbelief if he is insane. The scene transitions to show Dodd receiving rewards for Aaliyah's gift, gaining points and a seed of evil, which can be exchanged for special skills. He also receives a negative seal stack for Aaliyah and Talion, allowing him to use the rule of evil once. Dodd reflects that special skills are much better than items, but he still needs more preparation for the upcoming challenge. He thinks Dodd Campbell is just too weak to overcome the different patterns of the Purifier. That is why Dodd firmly states that he needs it, asking for a cannon. He repeats that he needs a cannon that could blow away the entire academy. The purple-haired woman, sipping her tea, stares at him with a stunned expression. She finally asks him with a pointed look if he is insane. Dodd suddenly tells Professor Percy that he needs a cannon, one big enough to destroy the entire academy. Professor Percy, who was calmly drinking, looked quite shocked at this huge request. The professor immediately asked Dodd if he was crazy, pointing out that making a weapon like that was one thing, but asking where he would use it was another. Dodd then showed a document, reminding the professor that the rules said he had to fulfill any ordinary requests. He insisted that building a cannon should be easy for the Dean of Spellcraft. Professor Percy argued that building a weapon was definitely not ordinary, but Dodd pressed on, saying a promise was a promise. Dodd promised he wouldn't use the cannon to hurt anyone, just that he needed to kill something in one blow before it became too annoying. This made the professor even more nervous and she called him an idiot. The professor sighed, accepting that Dodd must have his reasons, and since he helped with the monsters lately, she agreed to make him the cannon, Dodd Campbell. Dodd thanked her happily. As Dodd left, Professor Percy started mumbling to herself, thinking about how the Chancellor even allowed Dodd to have his own harem and believed he would save the world. She then remembered her own request. Dodd, overhearing the word harem, made him question what she was thinking, leading the professor to get flustered and shout that it was all Dodd's fault for distracting her. Professor Percy calmed down and reminded Dodd about the promise, one item from the vision whereas for him and Alea. Dodd asked if she could fulfill that promise now. The scene shifts to Dodd confirming that they got permission for the cannon and now he just needs to gather the materials for it. Dodd was walking outside, knowing he could get all the necessary materials using the interdimensional key, feeling like everything was going according to plan. As Dodd walked, another man with blonde hair and a cane appeared in a bright light, looking directly at him. This new person stopped Dodd, asking if his name was Dodd Campbell, to which Dodd confirmed it was correct. The blonde man introduced himself as Galdier Riverback, claiming he runs the charity foundation called Purifying House. Dodd knew this was a joke, as it was just a way to launder money. Dodd recognized him instantly, Galdier Riverback, the chapter boss known as Purifier and the leader of Fury Fire. Dodd admitted he heard the rumors about him. Galdier seemed impressed that Dodd managed to stop an escaped monster all by himself, calling it brave and not something ordinary people could do, calling it impressive. Dodd just looked on coolly, asking, "Is that so?" As Galdier continued praising him, saying that seeing an extraordinary student made him excited for their future. Galdier then invited Dodd to have dinner together in 3 days, saying he would love to have a conversation with him then. Dodd replied that he thought now was enough for a conversation, realizing this situation was just like the original story where this guy was supposed to bother Alea, but now he was approaching Dodd instead. Dodd wondered why Galdier approached him instead of Alea, fearing this system might recognize him as the main character, but quickly dismissed the idea, saying, "Nah, there's no way." Dodd told Galdier he would think about the dinner invitation, but Galdier insisted they meet in 3 days at the Eyes of Twilight and that he would be waiting. Dodd got frustrated. Dodd called out that he said he would think about it, but Galdier left, saying he'd be waiting, making Dodd curse under his breath. Dodd knew that the Eyes of Twilight was a fancy, high-end restaurant right outside the academy. He closed his eyes, accepting he had no choice but to go. He realized that considering all the factors and risks, defeating the Purifier wasn't impossible, but he was still confused about why he needed to take on Alia's role in this event. He decided to focus on the present. Suddenly, a dramatic vision showed a fierce fight where a silver-haired woman and an orange-haired woman were fighting fiercely against a monstrous enemy and a man attacking them. Dodd was shown looking determined, realizing that if he considered everything in this situation, defeating the Purifier was achievable, even though he was still confused about filling Alia's role. He pushed the thought aside. The scene focused on a woman with dark blue hair adjusting her monocle, looking thoughtful, possibly reflecting on Dodd's request or the situation. Dodd decided they could figure out the confusion about Alia's role later and focused on what was immediately in front of him, stealing himself. He clenched his fist, determined that they could figure out other things later, and then firmly knocked on a door. Dodd was clearly surprised as the door opened and he saw a beautiful woman with silver white hair looking at him intently. He called out asking if Eleanor was there. Eleanor asked Dodd what he was doing there, but he told her there was no need to come out, as he just wanted to talk about something simple. Dodd awkwardly asked Eleanor if she had any free time in 3 days. Eleanor seemed puzzled by the request and the mention of 3 days. Eleanor reminded Dodd that he needed to return his library books on time, teasing him that they were just collecting dust and asking if he rented them for the cover art. Dodd agreed to meet that day. The other woman, perhaps a friend or colleague, scolded Eleanor for not reading the books and asked if she had to pay late fees because of her. Dodd confirmed to Eleanor, whom he called president, that he was hoping she'd have some time to go out with him somewhere on that day. Eleanor seemed surprised, asking if it was just the two of them, and Dodd hesitantly agreed. When she asked where, Dodd suggested a place. Dodd mentioned a place called the Eyes of Twilight, which immediately made the other woman exclaim that it was a famous dating spot, questioning why Eleanor was being asked out there. Eleanor simply said she was aware. Eleanor, blushing slightly, asked Dodd why he was asking her to go with him, and Dodd smiled, saying he would tell her when they met on that day. Eleanor walked towards a door, leaving Dodd standing there, and just as she reached the door, she turned and asked him in his sweet tone, "Are you buying?" Someone was calling out for Aaliyah in a beautiful field with pink flowers and a bright sky. The person calling found Aaliyah sniffing and upset, who told them not to talk to her. Then the other person said they were sorry for messing with her before and promised to stop. Aaliyah still called him a liar because he had joked about pushing her down a hill. The other person, who seemed older, smiled and said he was just joking. He explained that he only wanted his little sister to grow up strong so she wouldn't get beaten up by strangers. Aaliyah snapped back that she didn't need his help. The older boy offered Aaliyah some cookies he got from the Baron's house, but Aaliyah immediately suspected him of stealing them. He quickly claimed they were just leftovers. The boy mentioned that thanks to the Baron, he might soon be promoted to an apprentice knight. Aaliyah asked what would happen after that. He happily told her he would be leaving for the battlefield to see the world and gain new experiences, maybe even becoming a guardian. The sunset showed a grand view of the mountains. Aaliyah scoffed, telling him to stop dreaming since someone who bothers his little sister can't become a guardian. He countered that there are no rules stopping him from rising up in life, just as Aaliyah asked if he would die if he went to battle. The boy admitted he could die with bad luck, but because he was skilled, he didn't think it would happen, to which Aaliyah angrily wished him bad luck and told him to leave her alone. She complained that he always made fun of her and didn't listen to their parents. Aaliyah then wished death upon Sir Caliban, but he smiled and promised that if he became a guardian, he would always be there to protect her. Later, Aaliyah was called by her brother, Aaliyah, as she was sleeping soundly in bed. She woke up with a start and peeked from behind a door, wondering what was happening. A man in a formal military uniform stood there, looking a bit awkward, and apologized, saying he was still not used to things since he was from the countryside. He apologized again for saying they shouldn't be friends and offered her cookies from the kitchen, which looked pretty good. Aaliyah looked at him silently for a moment, then asked why he was apologizing, saying it was uncool, before he declared they were friends. He told her to go get some sleep, but she stopped him, calling him a friend, and asked for his help with something urgent. He looked very excited about her request. Aaliyah's face changed to one of shock and anger, wondering if the man was insane for wanting to do something urgent in the middle of the night. The scene changed to a title card for the chapter, followed by someone writing with a quill pen on a parchment. The writer was revealed to be a beautiful woman with long, silver hair sitting at a desk, looking serious. She was discussing that they had finished everything regarding teaching materials and needed to double-check the fees for the clubs. Another woman adjusted her glasses and brought up the topic of transfer students. The silver-haired woman, looking powerful, mentioned they were expecting a transfer student from the Tribal Alliance. The woman with glasses seemed a bit nervous. The silver-haired woman continued, saying that the new student was the daughter of one of the tribal leaders, basically in exile now, and that her whole family was seeking refuge. The woman with glasses revealed the student's name was Lilu Garyuda and asked if the silver-haired woman had heard of her, as she was famous. The scene then shifted to an action shot of a powerful blue energy attack. The silver-haired woman admitted she might have heard of her, while a notepad showed a list of completed tasks and one question mark. Then it was mentioned that next semester, a real saintess from the Holy Empire would be coming. A figure in white robes, possibly the saintess, stood before a large crowd. The silver-haired woman asked if the saintess was coming alone. The silver-haired woman then commented on the transfer student being the daughter of a tribal leader, and she seemed unimpressed, leaning back in her chair. She muttered a saintess as she relaxed. The bespectacled woman noted that the academy was scheming something, which made the silver-haired woman look annoyed while writing on the paper again. A dark-haired figure stood behind the main characters, and the silver-haired woman stated, "The academy is scheming something. I'm sure of it," as a blue-haired figure stood nearby. Another figure wearing a religious hat was shown from behind, standing close to the blue-haired figure. The dark-haired man commented that the place was always like that to the silver-haired woman, who then said she forgot something, seeming slightly irritated. The bespectacled woman asked why she was so worried, pointing out that she hadn't been there for just a day or two. The silver-haired woman simply said she was in a bad mood. The scene shifted to a beautiful night sky with a huge moon over a large building, as the silver-haired woman mentioned how she was amazed there was an observation deck at the school. The dark-haired man, presumably Dalid, found the night sky pretty, but Aliyah asked him if they really had to do whatever they were planning right now. Dalid insisted there was no other way to make it fit perfectly and asked her to wait while he prepared. They were standing inside what looked like a large structure. Dalid revealed he had a catapult he got from the Vision Warehouse. He believed he could reach a certain spot, even though it was only accessible to high-level users, because he had a secret card from the Chancellor. Aliyah looked shocked, asking what he was planning in the middle of the night. Dalid shouted, "Here we go," as there was a massive explosion of light and force propelling something forward. Both Dalid and Aliyah were launched upwards, falling through the air with intense speed. Aliyah looked terrified. Aliyah struggled and cried out, while Dalid shouted her name with a determined look, telling her to stay focused and keep her eyes open. A large red and purple energy field appeared below them, glowing intensely. Dalid, looking confident while holding a device, announced that this was the location of the interdimensional portal and that they would be entering it soon. Aliyah looked scared, and Dalid tried to reassure her not to worry, before someone else asked her why she was crying and scared. The smiling face of Aliyah's brother appeared in a memory or thought, telling her to keep her eyes on him, as Aliyah looked determined. A voice warned that it might be a little dangerous as they entered a massive, swirling pink and purple vortex. The scene ended with a shot of a grand building under a dark blue, starry night sky, suggesting they had arrived somewhere new. The man tells the girl they don't have much time left in this strange place called the interdimensional realm. He warns her strictly not to touch anything because it could be very dangerous in this unstable area. As the girl tries to hold onto a floating rock, the man pulls her up, moving towards something higher. The girl cries out in surprise at his sudden action, but the man calmly explains that gravity is weird here. He tells her they need to go higher and urges her to jump, saying she will soon understand what he is looking for as the rocks keep pushing back. The girl screams, scared they will die if they fall, but he insists they won't die and tells her to just jump, causing the rock she was on to break away. She is thrown into the air with a loud sound, screaming as she starts falling quickly. She realizes with a shock that she is indeed falling, looking down at her feet moving away from the ground below. As she falls through a brightly lit area, she hears someone calling her name, Aliyah, repeatedly. The scene suddenly changes to a fiery, dangerous place where someone replies to Big Brother that they are there and then warns they need to run out the back door toward the barn. Another voice wonders what they should do about their mom and dad. A blood-stained girl in rags stands holding a scythe, insisting that they must leave while another person, seemingly in armor, assures her that they will take care of their parents. The armored person tells the other to hide if they see any descendants of the apocalypse. The girl asks what about the armored person, only to be told that mom and dad are already dead, which makes the girl break down crying. She cries that she is not stupid and knows her parents are dead, realizing it is just the two of them left, and worries about what she would do if he dies too, suggesting they run away together. The armored person tells her that going with him is stupid because they will both be in danger, and adds that before being her brother, he is a guardian. He tells her not to worry, just to run as far as she can, and promises they will meet on the hill where he always trained once she is safe, then demands an answer from Aliyah. Aliyah quietly agrees, looking down and heartbroken with tears still streaming down her face. The guardian tells her to calm down, everything will be alright, and instructs her to run now, promising to be right behind her. The guardian prepares to use some power, glowing brightly as he stands ready in the fire. Back in the interdimensional realm, the guardian grabs Aliyah's hand as she falls, yelling about where the gravity he mentioned is. He pulls her up, telling her she is falling really slowly now, while she looks up at him in disbelief and annoyance. Aliyah complains that he should have been clearer because she almost died, but he tells her to calm down and that she will get used to it. He points up, saying he found their goal, and they land together on a floating rock overlooking a strange, bright city below. The goal is identified as the ghost of Gregory's pavilion, and the man hands Aliyah something colorful, telling her to hold it because they will need to run away soon. Aliyah is confused about what the colorful object is and what she is supposed to do with it, while the man confirms they need to run and use it later. When Aliyah asks why they need to run away, the man asks her if she can see something. She looks around and replies that she only sees the sky as a large black shape starts appearing beneath them. A huge, monstrous mouth with sharp teeth opens up right below them, ready to swallow them. Both characters are shocked, realizing it's a beast from the interdimensional realm, and the man declares it is time for them to leave. The massive beast continues to open its mouth, filling the screen with its terrifying appearance. The man shouts that they need to make sure to collect everything the beast releases, grabbing Aaliyah and moving away just as the beast attacks. Aaliyah struggles to hold on to whatever the man threw or collected, complaining that it is too much. A huge, dark silhouette of the beast continues to move, preparing to strike. Suddenly, a strong blue light beams down onto the lower world, where a figure seems to be using some heavy-looking weapon. The man is relieved, saying it worked perfectly according to the card effects, and asks Aaliyah if she is okay, then gently holds her hands. He asks her how that was, and she reaches up for him as they both appear to land safely on blue ground. Aaliyah is clearly exhausted but seems safe, and she begins to wonder if he planned the whole escape, even the running away, from the start. The man smiles, saying of course it all went according to plan, adding that early farming for the ghost of Gregory is an easy tactic for an old player like him. Aaliyah then asks why he didn't tell her they were going to the interdimensional realm. He replies with a grin that he thought she wouldn't follow him, then hands her something filled up, which she takes, saying she can't believe he woke her up for this. Aaliyah thanks him and apologizes for not telling her, and immediately, a system notification shows that Aaliyah's affection has rapidly increased to interest level 4. The man looks confused, kneeling down with some bags beside him, asking why. As Aaliyah stands over him with a soft, knowing smile, he wonders why her affection level increased suddenly, looking at her change in demeanor. The scene flashes back to them flying together in the purple realm, with a close-up on Aaliyah's blush, suggesting her feelings have changed because of his recent actions.